So Starfield is my most anticipated game of all time. Bethesda games have consistently been some of my favorite video games throughout my life, but I was never really into gaming news and getting hyped about upcoming games until around like 5 years ago. And during this time span, I don't think any game has come close to competing with Starfield on my most anticipated games list. I mean, what's not to love about the concept? A Bethesda game in space. There is so much potential there. However, it took a long time for us to see gameplay for this game that was announced back in 2018. However, the gameplay reveal sure did live up to my standards and even exceeded them. Now, of course, there is still a year until this game comes out, so a lot of the issues people are finding in the trailer can likely be fixed in that time. And of course, only time will tell whether or not Todd's promises turn out to be true or not. Ever since Fallout 76 came out, a ton of people don't trust Todd Howard and Bethesda anymore, with good reason. I mean, Fallout 76 left a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths. However, with more recent launch failures such as Cyberpunk, I think people are in general just more skeptical about games before they come out. I mean, I completely understand why you wouldn't want to get too excited for a game like Starfield, a game that almost seems too good to be true. It's better to keep expectations low than to be disappointed. Or is it? Today I'm going to discuss why I think Starfield will be a legendary game, one that will help define the next decade of gaming just like Skyrim did. This game is a true passion project from Bethesda, and I don't think they're gonna mess it up, especially since this, for many fans, is Bethesda's last chance. So without further ado, let's discuss Starfield.
We can't wait to see what you find.
So I think many people can agree that the first 5 minutes of the gameplay reveal was kind of disappointing. It really just looked like Fallout 4 in space, but with awkward combat and frames dropping like it's hot. However, that was only the beginning, because then they started sprinkling in more and more, showing us what this game truly was. We saw a sneak peek into the story, we saw glimpses of the massive cities they're building for this game, they showed us the character creation with a bunch of new life paths and traits that I'm so excited to explore in depth. They showed us how they've improved the settling system from Fallout 4 drastically, and then they showed us that we can customize our own ships. And we all knew what that meant.
It's not just how the ship looks, it's how it performs, from engines to shields to weapon systems, because yes, you can fly it.
When he said those words and we saw the ship in space, I got so excited. I always assumed that there would be space flight in the game, but with the nature of Bethesda's previous games, I just didn't know how it would work. But it's here and it looks like a lot of fun. It looks slower and less dogfighty than a lot of other spaceflight simulators, but I honestly like that. I appreciate that this game seems to have slowed down the pace, which makes space seem more realistic in a way. However, we weren't done there. I was on the verge of busting when Todd Howard revealed that we can land anywhere on the planet. On every planet, in every solar system, which means over 1,000 planets. What? This was such a perfect gameplay reveal, and somehow, despite my massive expectations, this game still surprised me. My hype for Starfield grew exponentially. However, let's take a step back, because promises are great, but will the game work, and will it work well? Many people have been quick to point out some of the potential flaws this game will suffer from, and some of them are definitely worth talking about. I'll quickly mention some of the smaller issues that I don't think are too relevant. For example, people don't think the combat looks very good, which I agree with. However, there's plenty of time for them to improve it, and we also need to remember that the way they showed the combat was weird, partially due to the person playing it. Like, it almost felt as if the gameplay had been dumbed down to showcase it, rather than it being hectic and awesome, which I hope it'll be in the actual game when we play it ourselves. However, even if the combat isn't great, then that's okay with me. If I really want great combat mechanics, then Bethesda games aren't my first choice. It's the journeys, the exploration, the role-playing, the lore that really resonates with me when playing Bethesda games, so I can definitely excuse less than stellar combat. Another problem people are noticing are the frame rate issues and the bugginess of previous Bethesda titles. And again, this is very understandable. However, as long as it isn't game-breaking like Cyberpunk or Fallout 76, then I can live with the buggy launches. Bethesda games are typically very ambitious, especially Starfield, so there being bugs and issues is only going to be natural. However, I have full faith in both Bethesda and Xbox that they won't release this game in a broken state. I think Bethesda have more resources now, and it seems that they're pushing it back to allow themselves enough time to truly make it run somewhat smoothly. These aspects are very debatable, so let me know down in the comments what you think. However, let's move on to some of the more important discussion points. So I've seen a lot of people complain about how there likely will be a lot of procedurally generated planets in Starfield. The procedurally generated planets is something that Todd Howard himself has confirmed. However, some people think it'll feel empty and that there'll be nothing to do. However, I'm just thinking, isn't that the whole point of space exploration? It's not meant to be done already. Like, yeah, I'm sure there'll be hundreds of uninhabited planets with barely anything handcrafted to do at all, but then that's the point of us and Constellation, the last group of space explorers. We can go to these planets, see what wildlife there is, what resources there are, what cool terrain there is. Perhaps some of them we deem to be uninhabitable, or we just simply don't want to build a base there, so we'll go somewhere else and see what we can find there. Now I know some people don't care about being able to go anywhere in a galaxy, and that they would rather have a small but fully handcrafted map than a massive yet empty world. To this I can say that this will still be a Bethesda game, it just has another game on top of it. Todd Howard confirmed that they've done the most handcrafted content that they've ever done in any of their games for Starfield, with over 200,000 lines of dialogue recorded. In comparison, Skyrim had around 65,000 and Fallout 4 had 110,000. So yes, you'll still be able to get your Bethesda game with a main story, multiple different factions, side quests, handcrafted caves, buildings, and much more to explore. There's just the added element of you being able to explore all of space. Also, this massive world with a bunch of empty planets gets me really excited for the infinite potential for mods that will be possible. The modding community is what really kept Skyrim alive all these years, and in the past decade, we've seen Bethesda lean into the modding community a lot. Todd Howard has been talking more and more about working together with mod creators. I'd be very surprised if Bethesda doesn't do something like they did with Creation Club, where they use mods the fans have made to improve their own games. Just imagine it, there's a procedurally generated planet somewhere with not much depth to it. It looks very much like one of the many other forested and rocky planets we've seen. However, a modding team can handcraft that planet into whatever they want. They can create a system of cities and villages with quest lines and storylines and special new factions. Essentially, they can make a whole new game on that planet. It can also be something small like a unique point of interest on that planet with a quest attached. Someone can even recreate Earth similar to how it is today. There's so much potential, and the more modders do this, the more we'll be able to fill up this universe until eventually it becomes the ultimate video game. Okay, maybe that's very hopeful thinking, but the potential really is vast, especially when you think about the potential for expansions. At the end of the day, I see this game as a typical Bethesda game with a lot more to offer. I see a lot of things that gets me really excited personally, and I truly think this game can go down in history as one of the all-time greats. Is that a very high standard that is almost doomed to fail? Yes. But these are the types of games that Bethesda have provided me with before, so I will be putting my heart on the line. Todd Howard will have my trust in his hands to do whatever he chooses with, because I like to stay positive and I have faith in Bethesda. But what do you think? Do you think I'm an idiot for putting this much trust in Bethesda? Do you think there's even a possibility that Starfield will live up to the hype? Did you like the gameplay reveal or not? Do you even care about Starfield? So many questions, so much time. I'd love to hear what you think. As always, thank you to my Patreons, including our turf captain, Ben Joseph. Your legends are the real deal. But other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful day, stay safe, and peace out.